Welcome to Post Around the House. Now today we're going to be replacing the roof on the end of my house. Now if you watch my other videos, you'll notice I've been doing a loft conversion. This bit is not part of the loft conversion, but as part of the project I've decided to renew the whole of this roof. So we're going to be taking all the slates and ridge tiles off, replacing all the felt for a new breathable membrane, applying some insulation between the rafters, redoing all the slates and the ridge tiles, soffits, gutters and fascia boards. And if you look up there in the background, we got Big Pouse, and he's setting up a time-lapse camera, so hopefully I'll be able to show you a time-lapse of this project as well, which will be a nice short video and just give you a nice overview of what we've done. So just before we start, I'll quickly show you the roof for reference. This is that end bit of roof that you've probably seen us working on in the other videos. You've got your big man up there, Big Pouse, doing the time-lapse, and I'll just walk you around the roof now so you can see what we've got to do. And you see how this bit, although it's connected to the other roof, this is nothing to do with the loft conversion, so a much smaller project, and we're hoping to do this in about maybe 3 days in total. Obviously it's going to be a bit blocky in and out again, a few hours here, a few hours there. We've got to do these fascia boards under here, new black gutters, new downpipes. One other thing that we hope to do with this is where we've done the overhang on the dormers over there, which gives you a bit of protection from the weather. We're going to try and do the same on this, so we might have to grind out a small section of the brickwork here, add some 2x4s, then we'll put our battens, run those out to the end, and hopefully at the end of it we'll have a nice little overhang of about 6 inches over there. Slates off this side of the roof. Now our plan is, because we've only got a couple of days here, is we're just going to work on this side first. So we'll get all the felt off in a minute after we have a cup of tea, take all the battens off, and then what we're going to do is try and do all the fascias, or the timber fascia. We won't do the plastic today. Get that on. Like I did with the loft conversion, if you saw me do that, we're going to put some fascia vents along the top. We're going to be insulating between these rafters, and like I said earlier, we're doing a little overhang on the front, so there's a few things to work out, but if we can do that to the one side of the roof, try and get some felt and some battens over today, and when we come back tomorrow, fingers crossed we can do the same to the other side, because I think in 2 days time we've got a bit of rain, so as long as I got it watertight, I'll be happy. That's just a quick view of it, and just to explain what I'm doing here, we're going to pretty much try and grind this wall down here, just below the height of the battens. And my current plan is, which may well change like it always does, and many of you say that I'm just doing this as I go along, I have no plan. Well, yeah, you're right, I do sort of do this as I go along, but it's my house, so I'll do what I want. Once we've got this ground down to the right height, I'm then going to put some pieces of 2x4, probably 3 or 4, sticking out, and do like a sort of ladder for my fascia, exactly like I did up on the end of the loft conversion there. And then what I'll do is probably just grind a little slot out for each one of those. We can then pack a bit of mortar underneath there just to hold it stable, which will set off, and then we can attach all our fascia and then soffit underneath it, and that'll give us our nice overhang, and then that should match this nice overhang that we've got on those, giving a bit of weather protection, as I said earlier, and just making the house all look the same. The other thing you'll note here, when I looked at the roof on this, the slates didn't hang into the gutter that much, and the problem you've got with this is if you look at this fascia board, it's really rotten. And what you find is if your slates don't come out enough this way, the water will trickle off the edge of them, right? I'll sort of show you really on here. These slates here, so what you find is water will always track back a little bit under there and then drops down. Now if your fascia is there, it will start to rot the fascia. Now obviously, like I've done on this roof here already, we're going to be using these felt support trays, and these are great because they're plastic. So what happens is your water goes there, if it does run down, runs onto the felt support tray and drips nicely into your gutter. What you don't want is all this rotting, and then you look under here as well, look at all this. Birds have been nesting again over the years in here, so we've got all this rubbish to clear out, so we'll try and get the old Henry Hoover on that, I think, and clean all this up before we do anything. But anyway, let's go and have a cup of tea, we'll be back in a minute. now we've given all this a really nice clean. We've used the Henry hoover, we've got all the crap out, all the debris, gone over the top of the plasterboard, because you can see you've got like a half sort of vaulted ceiling underneath in this room. So this is the ceiling there, and by there, got the gap on top, so we'll try and get some insulation board in here. But before we do that and the fascia, we're going to do trimming this down. Come down here, you can pretty much see the line of the rafter there, and it's what, should we say 3 inches below the end of this render, so it should be simple enough to do. We'll take the grinder now right the way up here, or the disc cutter I should say. We're going to trim it down level with that, do a few little slots for some 2x4, create a ladder that sticks out 6 inches, which is the width of my soffit board I'm going to put on, and then we can do a nice sort of overhang with the fascia there like I explained earlier. Then once we've got our overhang and our ladder, we can put another piece of 2x4 up there and back down, again exactly like we did on the loft conversion if you watch that. Once that's in place, we can carry on doing the roof. Then we know the length to take the battens out to, run those out with the felt, and then hopefully we should have this side of the roof watertight by the end of the day. Weather's looking a bit dicky up over there, it's getting a bit cloudy, so fingers crossed the rain holds off. They said it would. We're going to use the original soffit board, nothing wrong with that, that's not rotten or anything, a little bit bowed, but we're going over that with UPVC plastic. Again, like we've done in the loft conversion over there, I did the whole house in UPVC over the new soffits. So we'll try and do the same there, so at the end the house will have a bit of an overhaul, and hopefully, again, I don't need to be up here in the next 20 years. Just to show you quickly what we've been doing, you can see that piece of timber there, the one rafter we've been cutting down. Basically that last one was bowed, it was too high, so we weren't going to be able to run straight out onto our new overlap on the ridge. So Big Pies has been trimming away at that. And you can see he's cutting a few slots in the brick, which I mentioned earlier. And by doing those slots, you can put like a ladder section of 2x4, it'll all become clear later. Basically 3 pieces, stick them out, 6-inch overlap. That means we got 3 pieces to butt up a piece of 2x4, then we can put the fascia on top of that, and we can run the battens straight out. So hopefully it'll all make sense in a minute. You can see these pieces of 2x4 I mentioned earlier. Big Pies just popping some screws there. So we're going through the back of the existing rafters. I'll just hold that now when you're doing that. You can see we're going through the back of the existing rafters. We've cut out these sections in the render and the brickwork there to sit them down flush with the old rafters. Done the same with that one. You saw us grind all this down, and the reason for that was to get that below these rafters. We had a bit of a pain, as you always do, there's always something. This end rafter was too high, so we trimmed that down level. So now we've got this, what we'll do is put the soffit board up to it. We can draw a line, and where we draw the line on the bottom of this, we can basically cut it down with a handsaw or the jigsaw, and we put our piece of 2x4 across the front of this, and then our final bit of fascia board can attach to that. But you can see the idea now. We'll get a nice straight overhang down here, and you can see with this end bit of house there's no cavity in this, although it looks like a slight cavity there. That's some renovation work that was done. It's basically solid wall construction, so you can't see any cavity down there. You've got your outer skin and your inner skin. insulation now. You can see we've taped it up, we've put a little bit of foam filler in any of the gaps around there. Tried to seal it up nicely. You probably noticed as well we put some of the rock wool inside. That was across the ceiling as well, so we've doubled up. We've gone right the way up with the insulation board and we put a bit of the insulation inside. So that should be nice and warm now. Next thing to do really now is run out our felt or breathable membrane across the top, right to the end, and then get some battens on it, and then hopefully it'll be watertight for tonight. And look, we've got Pop House has made an appearance, and we've got him doing some cleaning. Get stuck in. Right, that's it for today. Quick summary of what we've done. We've ripped all the old roof off, the slates, the felt. We've done this overhang down on the end, which I'll show you now. We filled all the rafters with insulation. We taped it. We used some foam filler on any small gaps that we needed. Once all that was done, we've got this fascia on along here. We've done as well these felt support trays, which again, I know I keep mentioning it, but you would have seen it on the loft conversion if you've been watching the series of videos. Got the felt support trays in, we just run the felt down to there. So you've got a nice overhang there ready for the gutters. Obviously I'm going to be putting UPVC plastic over the top of all this, so it'll be white at the end of it all. We've done this overhang, which we showed you earlier, grinding out these bits here, there, down there. So you can see now, once we put a nice soffit on there, we'll have this lovely overhang which will give a bit of protection to this wall. I'll show you what the other side was like there. That's what we were dealing with originally. For now, we've just put this batten in and stapled it, and it's just weighted this felt down so it's not going to blow up because it's a bit windy tonight. So at least we got it watertight anyway. Like I said, we've been putting this insulation board in between the rafters. We put some insulation over the top. We put the old rock wool, 200mm that was, in the top. So hopefully this end room is going to be a hell of a lot warmer now. Something I didn't explain earlier is basically we worked out our bottom overhang here with the slates, which we've worked out off the fascia and where the gutter is and how far you want your slate. So that was this first batten. You would have seen us screwing all that together earlier. We screwed it down. Once we got the line of the batten, we could line up our fascias. On the top of the fascia, we've obviously got the fascia vents there, okay, which the felt support tray sits on. Now, what these vents do is basically allow the air to go up through there, and they circulate across the top of the insulation, because the insulation, you've got to leave a small gap above it between there and this breathable membrane, and that just allows a little bit of air circulation across the top. And I think we left about 20, well, I'd say 30mm was our air gap there, because this is breathable. You can do that. It's the Tyvek Supro this. And then once we got to here, and we're happy that we've got our two bottom battens in place, we've then got these, which are both the same length, and this is just our gauge, and you just basically stick these between there all the way along on every rafter.